Cohen here from Trans Fellas. Wanted to make a video today about self-image and self-love. So what I've done is I've made a list of things. I won't read off of it word for word, obviously, but just so I remember what I'm talking about as we're going on and I don't get sidetracked. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I know that a lot of trans guys out there who are either pre-T or just starting out on their transition are having a rough time with dysphoria and things like that. I know for myself, um, just starting out, it was a matter of I wanted to see the changes. I wanted to see the changes. I didn't know what I would look like. I had an idea of what I wanted to look like, and I'd seen so many other trans guys by having YouTube and all these guys share. You have a big, I guess, doorway into what your transition could be, which is fantastic, and it's amazing that there are so many people out there willing to share their stories and willing to come online and give people information and updates so we all don't feel so alone. It's fantastic. Um, I know for myself, when I was beginning to start out, like I said, I just wanted to see things happen, and it's not that my transition was slow by any means necessary. I guess it's just that once we start out and we've seen all these people and how much they've changed, we don't take into account the amount of time that it has taken someone to do that, or the length of time that maybe they have been on T. In some way, I think our brains kind of forget that fact and we just see them how they are now, and it brings on somewhat of a jealousy with a lot of trans guys, I guess. And it's not a jealousy in a bad way, so it's not like we dislike those people because they look more defined than us, they look more masculine than us, or their voice is deeper, something like that. It's not that. It's just a matter of knowing what you want and waiting for what you want and finding out if you're going to get what you want. So it's a little bit difficult because we have all these new links and forums and videos, information that is being given by all these guys who have experienced it before us, and just it's so amazing that it's there. But it becomes one of those things where most people, because we are human, we compare ourselves, and in the end, it's not really fair for us to compare ourselves to each other. I know I've been following certain people that are about 5 years on T now, and when I get to that point where I feel a little bit jealous because they're so far ahead, um, I think one of the best things that I've done is actually gone back and watched a couple of their videos, so like their intro video on their YouTube, and then maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and then went to 6 months, and then 2 years, and then just went back and forth like that, and watched just a little bit of all their videos, because if you actually go back and look at a lot of people's videos, you will see that their progression is nothing super fast. It's not like they did it faster than anybody else. It's just that when there's that much time that has lapsed, you forget. You really do. I look at some guys and I see them and I'm like, man, they look amazing. They sound amazing. They must be so happy. And the funny thing is, um, we think that it's just like, oh, okay, well, you have everything that I've been waiting for now. The most important things to us now, maybe top surgery and hormones. But I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that these guys are going through that we haven't come to realize or feel that strongly towards yet. So everybody has their struggles, and I'm sure that these guys are still going through certain ones and jumping through certain hoops for other things. And so just keep that in mind when you get a little bit jealous. Maybe go check out that person's page and watch a couple of their old videos and just take a back and realize that, you know, you're really following along the same path as a lot of other people have gone. Your path is all yours independently, and that's what makes it yours. So, seeing these guys, it is easy to get really jealous and compare yourself. But I find a lot of the times, if you take a back and think about things, and then maybe review, you don't really feel too bad after doing that either. When you watch their videos, it kind of gives you a refresher of hope, because when you started watching their videos, they were probably like just starting out. So you were really happy and excited for them, and then they started continuing on further and further, and maybe you hadn't been able to start your transition yet. Maybe you weren't out yet. So it's one of those things where, because we're watching these people do it, I guess some people have a sense of feeling left out or left behind, in a way, in the best way I can describe it, I guess. And that's not at all the case. It's just a matter of timing, really. A lot of the reasons why we compare ourselves is because we forget about time. Time is always something. We're always waiting. We're always aware of time. But I think when it comes to something like seeing somebody's transition and how far it's come, say, like, I'm a year and a bit on T. And if you go back and watch my 6 month video, or if you've seen any of my pictures from pre T, I've come a really long way in a year. And I do know that I do still feel some jealousy towards guys. I do look at some guys and think, man, I really wish I could look like them. And it's a good thing to set goals for yourself, but it's one of those things where you also can't be unrealistic. I am 5'3". I will never grow. I will never be taller than 5'3". Unless I've been slouching my entire life and I'm now standing up straight, I could be 5'4". But I will never be taller, and that's something that I have to deal with. And, my feet, I'm a size 6.5 or a 7 in men's. That's a small shoe. But the good part about that is I can shop at most shoe stores. I go to West 49 for most of my shoes, and I buy skate shoes. I can buy skate shoes in the kids section that fit me, and I find the ones that look just like adult shoes, and I pay like $40 or $50 in comparison to like $100 to $150 for shoes. So sometimes the things that make you feel less actually are a blessing in disguise. So when you find something about yourself that you don't necessarily like or you wish you can change, try to think of reasons why it's actually a good thing. That's the way I try to look at it. I find too that a lot of the mainstream media, and I follow a lot of mainstream trans guys, and I have nothing against anybody. I just want to clearly state the fact that a lot of the mainstream trans men are very appealing and appeasing to the eye. They're very handsome men. They are pretty fit. A lot of them are more ripped than most of us are. But I guess the main thing that I want to bring up from that is just, there's always going to be a mainstream, and it's always going to be of a certain type. And unfortunately, in society, it's hard to escape that. And to be perfectly honest, without making anybody feel bad, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So what we have to really do is start to realize that mainstream is what it is. It doesn't mean that these guys that are mainstream aren't doing anything great. I'm going to use Aiden Dowling, for example. A lot of people have been giving him flack because he's white, because he's ripped, because he has his own business, because he's very popular, because he's been on Ellen. And one of the things that you have to realize is that he is, you know what? Some people get picked for that kind of stuff. He didn't go out there necessarily seeking to be on Ellen. He didn't go out there seeking to be the most popular trans guy around or anything like that. He started off making his own videos, and then point 0.5cc came from trying to find a way to fund surgery for himself, and then it turned into this thing that's even bigger. So I'm not gonna say anything or tell anybody about their opinions of whomever. I just want to say, for mainstream wise, that yes, he is now mainstream, and you know what? Personally, myself, I am not going to give him any flack for it. He did what he did, and you know what? Sometimes it's the luck of the draw. Sometimes it's this or that. And we can't all be famous. We can't all be the best looking guy in the world. We can't all be the most ripped guy. And I'm not saying that Aiden's the best looking guy or the most ripped guy by any means, so please don't misinterpret that. I'm just saying that everyone is different and we have to start understanding that, because I feel like a lot of our community really holds on to that comparison factor and really holds on to some sort of jealousy. There's a lot of guys who get um, territorial or jealous if you're on. I've been on a lot of Facebook pages um, that are open for FTMs, and you talk about this, that, and the other. And there are some guys that get pretty defensive if you say, like, if I say how my doctor suggests tea and my doctor's opinion of tea, because my doctor is listed as one of the top within the 100, I want to say 50 to 100 doctors that deals with trans patients within the world, pretty much. So, and in Canada, she's one of the most knowledgeable. So I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying for my personal health care, my doctor is right on that, and this is what I've been told. I'm sharing my experience. I don't want to argue with anybody. And unless you're talking about like buying your tea off the internet or buying it off somebody else, but you don't have a script yet, then I'm not really, and I'm not going to argue you that either, because it's your choice to do what you want. But I am going to tell you that that's very unsafe. So it's one of those things we kind of have to break out of that animosity towards each other, because otherwise I can't see how we're going to really help each other. There's a lot of guys out there willing to help each other, and not saying that some other guys aren't. It's just a matter of, I think it's really hard to watch other people transitioning because that's what you want. And it's not that person's fault, and it's not your fault. But for some reason, we can't find out where to deflect our jealousy or our anger for not having what we feel like we should have had from day one. So it's it's pretty much teaching yourself, I think, how to handle situations and how to take a back and look at yourself. I mean, I get down a lot because I'm small. I weigh maybe 120 pounds, and I'm 5'3", like I said earlier. So I am not a big guy, and I get it pointed out to me quite a bit that I am a small guy. But if I let that bother me every single time somebody made that comment, it would probably just ruin everything that I'm working so hard for, or at least ruin my mood whenever it's brought up. So what I try to do is think about the fact that I'm a small guy, but there's a lot of other things that have made me feel so much better about myself. My voice is deepened, it's still going. Sorry. My Adam's apple is coming in. I have facial hair. That, like, there are a lot of small guys. We were born in female bodies. Not a lot of females are extremely tall. So most of us are going to be average to shorter height as males. So it's something that we're going to have to learn how to cope with. Unfortunately, there is nothing that we can do to change our height. So what I think we have to start doing is picking things that are doable, because a lot of the times we see these mainstream people and we see that they're completely ripped and they have muscles and they're like, they do this, they do that, and it makes us feel like, well, I want to look like that, or I want to do that. And sometimes it's not the most realistic thing. um, I'm trying to think of something that I can bring up to Well, let's think about it this way. I weigh 115 pounds, 120 pounds, somewhere in between there. I have some buddies that are bigger than me. And the thing is, if we start working out as buddies or at the same time, my friends are going to lose weight for sure. But myself, there's not a lot left to lose until I'm at an unhealthy point. So it's a matter of I'd have to start trying to gain muscle, more muscle than I already have, so that um, working out would be beneficial to me. And my buddies, it might take a little bit longer for. And I've noticed that as well throughout my transition. I've tried to also be fairly mindful of some of my friends, and I hope that I've been fairly mindful to everybody here as well. I do like to share my experiences. I do like to share everything that's changed, everything that's gone on, but I also remember what it was like to not have what I have now. And watching other guys. So I try not to be too boastful about certain things. And everybody has a right to be excited. I'm not saying that I'm not excited and I'm not happy about things. I'm just saying that sometimes when you're with or talking with certain people that are new to transition, um, they'll probably ask you all these questions about your changes and stuff. So um, that would be a better time to discuss your real changes and everything. Not to say that you shouldn't be able to tell your friends stuff. It's just a matter of you have to take into account other people's feelings sometimes. And that's what I try to do. Some of my friends get really down. So instead of saying like, well, look at this, or listen to my voice, doesn't it sound fantastic? Like, not that I talk to my friends like that, but just I like to talk to them and ask them questions about how their transition's been going, and then when they ask me questions that pertain to things that I am proud of, that's when I take the moment to explain my experience with that and then explain how happy I am, because unfortunately not everyone can build muscle mass the exact same way. Not everyone can lose weight the same way. Not everyone can grow body hair the exact same way. Not everybody's voice deepens. Not everybody's fat redistributes. Some people are hippie, some people aren't. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into making each and every one of us who we are. And going through this transition, you don't necessarily know what you're going to end up with. And unfortunately, there's no way to tell. The easiest thing to do usually is to look at your immediate family members that are male and see how they look and what types of facial loss, hair loss. You might want to check your mother's father's side, because if your mother's father was bald, it comes from the mother's side, so that's one thing. But pretty much check that out, because a lot of your transition is based off of your genes. So if your dad's not hairy, then you probably won't be. If your dad doesn't have that deep of a voice, you probably won't be. That doesn't mean that it's for sure. It just means that could give you an idea. Everybody takes things differently. Everybody's genes are different. Even yours and your parents, they're different. So you might not turn out exactly the same. I have a brother who has hair to here, is very broad, pretty muscular, and he is as hairy as a lumberjack. Full beard. He was able to grow like a mustache when he was 13. He has so much leg hair and hobbit feet, which, like, you know, I am maybe half of what he's like. And my dad I'm pretty much at the same level as my dad right now. So, testosterone has done wonders for me. With it, you guys know that you are not alone. There are a lot of us out there. We're all at different points, but we've all gone through or are going through the exact same things. Some of us have to deal with the fact that our voices may never be as deep as we want them to. Some of us have to deal with the fact that we may not have a lot of body hair or facial hair, and that might be something that we really wanted. Some of us have to deal with the fact that our body types may not be what we think they should be, or we may not be able to get to exactly what we want. But I think the main thing that we do have to try to do is be kinder to ourselves and to each other. I think the comparison thing, it's only human to do it, but think think about it, take it into consideration a little bit more when you're doing it, because the only thing you're doing is making yourself feel bad about you, and that's not something that you have to do. Everybody's different. Um, like I said, genes, time, the dose that you're on prescribed by your doctor is a dose that you should follow. Please don't ever up your dose because you think it's going to make your changes happen faster, because it will not. If you take too much tea, like I've said before in my other videos, it will revert back to estrogen, and then you will have a big problem on your hands. So, um, just keep in mind, keep positive. Try to find some pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr. Try to find some pages that relate a little bit more to you as a person, because at the end of the day, this is your transition. This is your second chance to be exactly who you want to be. Don't try to be like somebody else. Don't try to be like the most popular trans guy out there. Don't try to be like the most buff one, the best looking one. Just try to be who you want to be. Really think about it, because this is like, it takes a lot to get it, but this is a gift, and this is your second chance. So don't waste it being jealous about other people. Focus on you and watch every little change that happens and take that into account, because even the littlest change makes the biggest difference and could be the most positive thing in your day or of the month that happened to you. So please keep that in mind and remember that this is your transition and no one else's. So do you, because that's all that matters at the end of the day. And we all feel like this at some point or another. Even the most mainstream trans man, the most beautiful trans man, feels this way at some point on some day or another, and you're not alone. So please stay positive. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.